Welcome to the Asbestos Knowledge Empire.
What does asbestos management mean to you?
I used to really struggle with the asbestos management at my site, but now it's a breeze.
It used to be really expensive. I was paying loads, but now I've got my asbestos power team in place. It's so much easier.
Asbestos can be a pain in the arse if not handled right.
We had to stop the job because asbestos was discovered. Now we don't have that problem.
Asbestos management is easier than you think. Asbestos management. Be proactive, not reactive. Think about asbestos first, not last.
And now your hosts, best-selling authors and asbestos experts, Ian Stone and Neil Munro.
Welcome to the Asbestos Knowledge Empire. I'm Ian Stone.
I'm Neil Munro.
So today we're talking about asbestos management in schools, but I'm pretty sure we've covered kind of asbestos management in schools on a podcast. I certainly talk about it quite a lot.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually done a bespoke episode. I think
that's one for the future then.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about it.
But this is coming at it from the point of view of the government. The Department for Education have now released new guidance that came out on 14th of October 2020, all about asbestos management in schools.
Yeah.
And it's on the .gov.uk website under the DFE. And yeah, like I say, it's all about asbestos management in schools and maintenance and what it means.
Nothing's changed.
No, essentially nothing has changed, but...
Yes, start with that. There's no been update on the regulations. There hasn't been an update on HSE guidance.
No.
This is just a publication on the government website, steered towards schools and written in a way that schools can work to.
It's any educational establishment, really. I mean, but they have steered it towards schools, but it is any kind of educational establishment, so colleges, universities, that type of thing. And you're totally right. It's a funny one because, I don't know, out of the blue this came for me when I received it on email and had a look through it because, like you said, there's no changes to regulations. We're still running to and working to Control Asbestos Regulations 2012. There's no new guidance that's come out for industry.
Yeah.
We're still working to HSG 264.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say the asbestos in schools agenda / campaigns are at a height to warrant this either, unless this has been a backdated...
Yeah, because this could be from the fruits of the labour of...
Exactly that, yeah.
The Asbestos in Schools campaign.
Yeah, definitely it's not as vocal at this current time. However, it's always been and will continue to be a kind of a hot topic.
It was just a bit weird
reasons, isn't it?
It was just a bit weird timing, wasn't it? Like I say, it just popped up out of the blue.
Yeah, just as a side argument, there is evidence that children of a younger age, younger than adults, are more susceptible to asbestos fibre and being exposed to asbestos fibre.
Definitely. And the thought process behind that is they're more susceptible because their lungs are still developing.
Yeah.
They don't have fully formed lungs, so therefore fibres can lodge easier and all the rest of it. So that's why they are more susceptible.
Yeah. And there's another argument, which is a very strong argument, is you can't manage asbestos. So the duty to manage asbestos applies within a school environment the same as, in an office or a warehouse. And the argument is that it's not the same. Managing asbestos in a school is not the same as managing asbestos in an office or adult work environment because, with all reason, you can say to an adult, these are the rules that you need to follow. However, we all know that where you say rules to children, they're not always followed 100% of the time.
Things like don't play football in the office. Adults generally don't play football in the office. Saying to kids, don't play football. Don't kick this door. Don't have a knockabout with your mates in the form room or whatever. That does fall on deaf ears, and footballs ping about and break stuff. And like you say, kids run about, break stuff. Just by the nature of kids being kids.
Yeah, so there is a reasoned argument that, managing asbestos in schools is not as straightforward and comprehensive as the normal work environment.
No, it's a special environment, isn't it? And really, that's what the Asbestos in Schools campaign was about, of creating special rules for special areas, because, like you say, it's not as straightforward to do it. But yeah, so that's kind of the crux of the asbestos management in schools, and the fact of, there are schools that have asbestos in. It needs managing in the same way as every other commercial building under Regulation 4 needs managing. But yeah, the DFE, like I say, have produced this new guidance in October 2020, and Neil's right. It literally kind of says what we already know. However, I think it's been done to try and educate people further. So it's only a good thing. Yeah. It really is a good thing. But ultimately, nothing's changed for this to come out.
Yeah.
However, when you read it, there are changes that are afoot. And like, we picked two of them, two of the tabs. There's one which is entitled What to Do if Things Go Wrong, and there's another one entitled Asbestos Management During Maintenance or Building Works. And what really sticks out for me on these are both of them at the foot of the guidance, the new guidance. There's a case study. Now, I've not seen this done before.
Yeah.
They've actually provided a case study and given some kind of information, and it shows the implications. Now, bearing in mind, this is from government, this is from the Department for Education. They are being quite heavy, and I would say putting the boot in to advise schools and educational facilities, if you don't get it right,
this is what can happen.
This is what can happen. And like I say, this is the first time I've seen it. I mean, I've seen scaremongering from in the industry and, if you don't do this, this will happen, and all the rest of it, which, all right, a lot of the time it's lies, and it is just scaremongering.
Yeah.
Whereas what the HC have done, or what the DFE have done, they've taken HC cases and used that information to show what things can go wrong and how they can go wrong for you. So on the asbestos management during maintenance or building works page, it talks about case study 3, which I'll give you the crux of it. It's the importance of managing works in line with regulations to avoid asbestos exposure, prosecution, and financial sanctions. I mean, it's all very strongly worded. So just to give you the breakdown of what it says, unsafe removal of asbestos insulation boards at a large school led to several people being exposed to asbestos. HC prosecuted the school and the director of the company responsible for the refurb project. And the long and short of it is the school was fined £60,000 and ordered to pay £13,000 in costs. And the director of the company who carried out the refurb was fined 10k with 6k costs. So we've got the school being hit for 73 grand and the refurb company with 16.
Yeah.
I mean, both of those figures are by no means a small amount of money.
No.
But what really stood out for me is that the HC have prosecuted and really hammered the school.
Scale, isn't it?
Yeah, because before
the weight's on one side versus the other. It's not an equal sort of prosecution and fine on that side of things.
It really isn't. And again, I think in the past, it would usually be the contractor that comes away with a heavier fine, a heavier sentence, all the rest of it. Yeah. But in this case, they've hit the school.
Definitely, and that sort of reflects the HC's kind of steer away, or towards, I should say, away from contractors and the actual workers, and more to the client, and the client taking responsibility for the works that they're commissioning.
Yeah.
You know, you see it in the CDM regs.
I was going to say that, yeah, definitely.
And again, you see it in the prosecutions of asbestos situations where they really are sort of targeting the client and their responsibility for ensuring that what they're having carried out on their sites is safe and it is correct and following the guidance.
Yeah, I was going to say that was kind of with the CDM regs. There've been a few changes over the last few years, and it has been kind of stepping up more and more and more to include clients in this.
Yeah.
And that certainly was the case in the last refresh of the CDM regs. And you've got kind of explicit responsibilities as a client that you've got to make sure that everything is okay on the health and safety front. Everything has been taken into consideration And that is an explicit duty on you that you can't just go, oh, yeah, whatever, I'm just going to employ someone to do that.
Yeah, you can do that, but you can't.
You still can't negate and get away from that responsibility.
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. Yeah, because that's a massive difference, isn't it?
It really is.
A 73 grand on the school.
Yeah.
So, I know for a fact that would cripple any school, not only a primary school, a secondary school, an academy, even, one that was in good financial stability.
That's all we read about. That's all we ever hear about in the press, that schools are struggling, that they struggle for normal run-of-the-mill stuff, pens, paper, things like that. They're struggling already. So being walloped with 73 grand, that's going to hurt. Yeah. That really will hurt. And like I say, that it's a real change in the scales and the tipping point of who's getting busted for these issues. Yeah.
Yeah, just going back to the reasons, I don't think we you didn't mention it was down to poor planning, inadequate planning, and failure to carry out a full survey, despite the fact that a sample taken from the building had identified the presence of asbestos. So that was kind of the failings that they found.
Okay. Which they are. They're inadequate. That's... Yeah, and really, there's no excuse there, is there?
Yeah, and then, when you look at the fine, that's pointing towards the client of, you obviously didn't plan these works right, you didn't get a survey done, even though, the director of the refurb company was the employer sending his staff in.
Yeah.
The duty holder, the client, the end person that was instructing all these works. For me, that says that, you're ultimately responsible and you're the one that's ultimately at fault here.
Yeah, that's why the fines fell like that in that
massively,
big case of 73k versus the 16. Okay, so that was that one that kind of blew me away a little bit. And then the other one was what to do if things go wrong. So case study 4 at the bottom of this page, it talks about financial costs of having to carry out decontamination can be high. The educational and pupils suffer as a result. And here it talks about a school that had, in one school, lab technician installed IT cables through a ceiling void, putting holes through barriers and walls, contaminated most ceiling voids throughout the building. It was 9 months before the exposure was spotted by a surveyor. To clean it required lighting to be installed cost 280k. So that was what it cost to do the job.
Yeah.
But another school arranged electrical rewiring over the summer. On observing the contractors with unsealed bags of asbestos waste, the pupil site manager contacted experienced asbestos consultant. Asbestos contamination had spread throughout the school, affecting everything from computers, files and records to pupils' coursework. At the start of the autumn term, 1,000 pupils had to move to temporary accommodation. The school did not reopen until the following summer term. The school and council incurred costs of 4.54 million quid as a direct result of the contamination.
That's crazy.
The HC prosecuted the contractor as well. But again, that alone, a £4.5 million cost to put that right. Again, we were talking about 73 grand a minute ago, saying that's big.
Yeah.
4.5 million quid.
Yeah, that could bankrupt a council.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is massive, massive money. And, we always kind of talk about when asbestos projects go wrong, it's expensive. Well, that's a case in point of when it does go wrong, you're looking at £4.5 million.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And 1,000 pupils disrupted for a whole year.
Yeah.
What sort of knock-on effect does that have to the education of those pupils?
That's what I was going to say. I mean,
stress to them, their mums, their dads, their guardians, whatever. It's massive, isn't it?
Through coronavirus at the moment, I've been reading in the press that obviously the lockdown periods have really upset children and affected their education. Like today or yesterday, I was reading that some kids are forgetting how to use knives and forks.
Yeah.
And things like that because they're outside of the educational system. I mean, moving into temporary accommodation for a whole school year, you're right. It can't be good for someone, can it? I mean, it pissed me off every day if I had to come to the office and my office gets moved. Do you know what I mean? If I'm in a different location, day in, day out, that would upset me and that would affect my working flow.
100%. So that 4.5 million figure is probably, much, much bigger than that knock-on effect.
Yeah, you can't put the true cost of that into monetary terms, can you?
No, definitely not.
But again, with this, I've never seen this kind of thing done where...
Here's the guidance, and
here's the guidance.
Is it. This is what could happen if you don't do it.
Yeah.
All in one.
Under no uncertain terms and coming from government.
Government, yeah.
Literally laying down, these are the rules, these are what's going to happen if you don't...
To people.
Yeah, this is what we've done. And, I mean, take it at what it is. It's a warning. It is a massive, massive warning for anyone who's managing asbestos, managing schools, universities, colleges. If you're not on point with asbestos, then kind of you need to get it sorted ASAP, because they're not holding any punches when it goes wrong and they get involved and the HC prosecute. They really are all out.
What do you think it is? What do you think the root cause of people not following what they or doing what they should be doing? Do you think it's lack of money, lack of information, lack of knowledge, or just a mixture of everything?
I think it's a mixture of everything. Look, there's definitely lack of knowledge.
Lack of responsibility.
Yeah, ownership.
Yeah, because actually thinking about it, there's a lot of, we work with a lot of different schools across different authorities, and nothing's the same.
No. They're all different.
Some authorities, some educational authorities take full responsibility and full control.
Yeah.
Some have a bit.
Yeah.
Some throw it all to the schools.
Yeah.
Some are a mixture of everything. And and if you're a teacher or, a person responsible for the maintenance and repair of schools, I'm pretty sure if you went from different authorities, you'd get different ways of doing it, different kind of responsibilities.
100%.
And it would be very confusing moving from place to place of exactly what you need to do. So, lack of clarity and responsibilities is probably up there as one of the strong.
If you look at the schools that they change from being fully managed to them being an academy where they're out on their own with their own money and they get to choose to spend it wherever.
And I have to say,
go on.
I truly believe that a lot of the academies are getting it a lot more right than the, say, authority-based ones.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of authorities there doing above and beyond what should be happening, but definitely some where it's a little bit loose on who's responsible, because the schools, because they think
we're part of the local authority,
therefore we're okay, because they say what we've got to do. And
also the handover, the local authority gave us this register, they gave us this management plan, so therefore we're okay because we've inherited this.
Yes.
But in reality, they've not checked that it's still working, it's still correct, it is still up to date.
Yeah. What's your opinion on that? I've just thrown that in there.
I don't know.
There's some real strong academies out there. Because
the problem is my view is muddied somewhat in the fact that I've seen each and every avenue. So I can't sit here and say, oh, so-and-so is doing all right and so-and-so is crap.
Yeah.
Because I've seen both.
The reason why I think is because some of the academies are run like a business.
Yeah.
Therefore, where they need the skill set, they will outsource or buy in that skill set directly into their business.
Yeah.
And I do think that is a better run system.
Yeah.
When it's right.
Although
that's the trouble.
That's the problem. And that said, when you're talking about money and you bring it down to a business point of view, I've also seen the other side where there's a budget for everything. Yeah. And perhaps, I don't know, they should spend £1,000 a year on pens and stuff. Yeah. But they would not actually spend that £1,000 on the pens. They'll spend it on something else. Yeah. And the same goes for like compliance. So Legionella, asbestos, whatever. Yeah. If they could get away with, look, if we don't have this done this year, then we save a bit. Do you know what I mean? For next year.
Yeah. No, I'm sure there is an element of that. do you? I think there's an argument the other way as well, because the academies, I think, are more looked at or perceived to be looked at because
they're not under the umbrella of the security.
Exactly that. Exactly that. They're not. Oh, they haven't got the local authority.
They haven't got the backing.
Stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Or the big brother standing behind them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose, don't get me wrong, you can get a case study out of each and every environment, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I do think, on a tangent, if a lot more government organisations were run like businesses, we'd probably get them running and smoother and better.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for another day.
That is, isn't it? Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from that point of view, definitely. But back to this and the point of the podcast. This was, like I say, a big wake up. Well, a surprise for myself when I read it, and I think it should be taken in the way that it's written in. It's kind of, look, we're really trying to help you. The government have laid down everything in really easy to understand terms of these are the things that should be in place. You should be planning for projects. You should have an asbestos register. You should be having refurbishment surveys before carrying out refurbishment works. And if you do not, then you will be fined, and you will be fined massively.
Yeah.
And that's... it sounds kind of, I don't know, quite extreme, but then it's one of those things that I think they're probably getting to the end of their tether of people not complying, because the rules are there, the rules haven't been followed. So now that they're upping the ante on hitting people where it hurts, which predominantly is in the pocket.
Yeah.
And like we're saying, that this couple of case studies, they do show that you are fined massively if you're not on point with asbestos management.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose if you want somebody to take something seriously, you've got to show them the consequences, haven't you?
Yeah.
And here, most people, they see the numbers, don't they?
Yes.
They see the numbers. You can, with all the best will in the world, really, preventing people being exposed to asbestos should be the number one.
Yeah.
But the trouble with that is
you and I know
it doesn't hurt on day one.
No, exactly. And that's the problem. It doesn't, it's not like getting an electric shock.
No.
If you get electric shock, it bloody hurts. Whereas if you get exposed to asbestos, you don't know, nothing registers straight away, all the rest of it. And that's the issue that kind of we as an industry face and the government face in getting people to comply with the regulations, I suppose.
But if I tell you, if you don't do it, you're going to get 70 grand fine.
70 quid fine, 70 grand fine, yeah. 70 grand fine. That makes you sit up.
Sit up a little bit and go, oh, shit, I better do something then.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Share it. If you think anybody would benefit from hearing this about educational facilities need to kind of get on top of their asbestos management, please share it with them.
Yeah. If you look on the .gov website, under the guidance, search for asbestos management in schools, you'll be able to find all the documents that have been presented there.
Yeah, it's specifically under the DFE section on the website. But like Neil said, if you search for it, it'll all come up. If anybody is unsure or they've listened to this and thought, do you know what, I'm not sure whether we are compliant, whether we've got everything in place, are we okay? I want you to reach out to me, contact us, and we'll offer a free audit for you to basically see exactly where you're at and if there are any recommendations to go forwards. There's no cost to that. It's literally totally free. That's kind of our offering to help you out in this current climate, and especially in light of this new guidance that's come out from the Department for Education. So if you do need help, please let us know. Contact us through
as.com,
through
the website, or you can go onto Facebook through any of our Facebook pages, our Acorn one or our Asbestos Knowledge Empire one. You can contact us there. Or on our book, Asbestos Dark Arts, you've got a contact us page on that as well.
I'd say probably the easiest one would be have a look at acorn-as.com and complete a contact us form. and yeah, that'll come through to us. Just put on their podcast, free asbestos audit or whatever, and we'll be in touch and we'll be able to come out and help you out. Hope you enjoyed that. Remember, asbestos first, not last.